I want to start off with the main question for me, and it's Hunter Renfrow in this wide receiver room with the Carolina Panthers. We were talking off camera, and Stu, I can't think of a year where we had a wide receiver room that's this stacked. Like there's 7. I'm gonna go look up the names here in a minute when I turn it over to you, but there's a good 7 wide receivers on this roster that could legit make it. Someone's gonna be an odd man out because I think they're gonna keep 6. I'm sitting there trying to figure out who it is, and I don't think it's Hunter Renfrow. I don't think it's him.
Yeah.
Is showing out in practice. Have you got a chance to see these practices and see these wide receivers up close?
Not yet. I plan on going out there at some point during the training camp. There's a couple opportunities for me to step on the field. But no, man, it's definitely a battle. And this is exactly what you want. If you think to yourself, what makes a good team? Depth, right?
Yeah.
And when if we're scratching our heads at the receiver spot, as far as who stays and who goes, that's a good place to be if you're a fan. Now, if you're a coach, you got some work to do. and kudos to, the scouting department by putting this together, right? Dan Morgan and the staff, they deserve a round of applause for getting to this point, right? Little check marks. Obviously, these guys still need to go out there and perform and showcase what they can do when it's game time. But we got guys, T-Mac out the gate, right? Last year, we got Xavier Legette out the gate, first round draft picks. Then you got Adam Thielen, the Godfather. Then you got David Moore, the guy that was consistent and he was reliable, right? And then you got Jalen Coker, who came into his own last year. But now you add into the mix Hunter Renfrow. Probably, if you ask some of the DBs that had to play him, especially 2021 when he was with the Raiders, you might actually think to yourself, man, he might be top 5 feared slot guy that I don't want to line up against.
Dude, that's what I don't understand. Like, how do we even?
The reasoning is because he did have a medical condition,
right?
Where he obviously didn't know what it was at the time, but slowly but surely, it took a toll on his play. It took a toll on his health, and he had to step away from the game, right? And so you had the 2021 season, 2022. He probably started feeling some type of way with the condition. 2023 is where it was like, okay, this is daunting. Like, I don't know what's happening. But he took 2024 off. And, I mean, a guy that's, was coming into his own in 2021 and things are just kind of panning out. Averaging 10 yards a catch in the slot. Like that's huge. We need that. You know what I'm saying?
The dude's nickname is the Route God. Like, I mean, he literally, I'm watching him run some routes. There's some clips online. Shout out to Bashai Hurt, Sheena Quick, and a lot of the Panther content creators that are actually there because the fans can't be. So this year is a little different with training camp, but they are all on they're all on Hunter Renfrow. Like, there's been some where I've seen him, he's taking somebody down the field, he'll go this way, that guy goes with him. He goes back that way across the screen. The other guy doesn't even come back. Like, he literally has juked the dude out of his socks. And I'm just like, how did this dude just fall out of the sky, basically?
Yeah.
Dave Canales, man.
It becomes who do you know type of situation. But also remember this, he is from Myrtle Beach, right?
Yeah.
So,
an hour and a half away, right?
So he's got Carolina ties. And so in the back of his mind, he's probably thinking to himself, man, I'm going to come back. I want to let the Carolina Panthers know. So, like, that's obvious. That's an obvious situation where, the Panthers have an advantage of being here where he's been at for the last year. And the contact there, that's huge for the Panthers. Why this really matters, though, think about it. Renfrow returns close to home, right? To play and showcase what he can still do in front of his home state, in front of his home people, right? Where he grew up. So he's going to have people rooting for him. It's a full circle moment. It's not a comeback in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
It's more so to prove the next chapter, right? This is not an emotion. This is it's not just emotional, it's strategic. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm him, I'm not looking at this as a nostalgia moment or what have you. This is about reigniting that 2021 spark in front of your family, in front of your fans, in front of the franchise that needs reliable playmakers. And he is going to be exactly that.
And he's not old. He's 29. I just went to go look it up, see how old he was. People recall he's the one that caught the touchdown pass from Deshaun Watson in that Clemson, Alabama national championship game. I mean, and he said at the podium, I think it was yesterday, that he picked Carolina because of its proximity to home. That, you know, it's an hour and a half drive or whatnot. It's close by. His family's nearby. He went to school at Clemson, like you said. It just made sense. And for a team like Carolina, that when you think about last year, the last maybe 3 weeks of the season, where we were just running out of ammo. Like we were so thin depth wise, and people were getting banged up and not able to play. And we were just having to pluck guys off the street just to kind of get in there. But to your point, to have this situation now, a year later, after a second Dan Morgan draft and free agency period, to see what we're looking at here on the screen, there's 8 guys there. I would think they're going to probably keep 6. Just looking at this, someone is getting left out that's actually going to get picked up by somebody else, more than likely. But I don't think you can really go wrong with that. That top row is locked. Like they're there. Yeah. I think Jimmy Horn Jr., I think he's going to make it. I know he's a 6th round pick, but he's got a certain swagger to him. He kind of reminds me of Steve Smith a little bit, like in terms of the way he acts. I ain't saying he is Steve Smith. I don't want people.
Yeah, I was about to say, hold on, relax.
I ain't trying to say he's pretty. I ain't trying to say
I'll say this: Jimmy Horn Jr. is that guy, that jitterbug that we needed, right? We need that guy that can stop and go.
Juice
and score from anywhere. Get a slant, I'm gone.
Yep.
You better be in position.
Yep, we talked about that last year, that we didn't really have anybody like that. Adam Thielen's great in the slot, but he ain't got the juice to get past the secondary like that. And Jimmy Horn does. Plus, he contributes special teams. So I'm like, because I think he was getting most of the special teams stuff for the first teamers the past week. So I think Jimmy Horn's going to get in. I think it's going to come down to David Moore, Dan Chisna, and maybe even Jalen Coker, although Coker showed flashes last year where, I mean, Coker and Moore, the coaches love them, but you get to a point, to your point, Stu, where you can love all these players, but you can't keep them all. So like they can say all they want to about loving them. And I hear that a lot about them saying that about Dan Chisna and others, like, oh, we love him, or David Moore especially. And people are saying he's not going to get cut. I'm like, I think he might be the one if they're going to keep Hunter Renfrow, because I don't think Renfrow's situation, it's not a matter if he's going to make the team anymore. It's a matter of, is he wide receiver 3? Is he wide receiver 4? Is he like, is he like what is
he gonna be on that? He's gonna be on that
too.
It's dope that Dabo came to practice yesterday too. Like it was like a homecoming. It was like, I think I read somewhere, maybe it was a Charlotte Observer, I don't know, but they called it Renfrow Day.
Yeah.
Because Dabo stepped on campus for the Carolina Panthers training camp for first day in pads.
It was a fight.
And
mentioned the fight.
And to see to see Dabo show up for his guy, that's a great opportunity. That's what you want. If you're the Carolina Panthers, you want that type of attention. You want that type of vibe where you have the feeling of people having your back and having your best interests in heart. Dabo showing up for Renfrow as he's getting his cleats underneath him for the first time in a year. That's a huge confidence booster. You got your old coach, on campus. That's nice. So I actually last year I got an opportunity to meet Dabo because obviously the Panthers practice last year in training camp at Clemson, and so that was a cool opportunity to meet him. He has an aura about him, man, and so hopefully that aura spills off into that receiver room through Renfrow.
I am noticing, and I did have Omar Ruiz was on with us yesterday on Believe in Panthers, and you can check out that episode on the Believe Podcast Network, and it's on the YouTube Believe channel right now as well. And he was at practice, I think Sunday, and was talking. He sat down with Bryce Young. You got a chance to kind of see everything, and I was asking him about the vibe. Like, what was the vibe while you were out there? Because I was telling him the Carolina Panther teams in the past that have been successful were never picked to be successful in the preseason. Like they got on a roll and got going, whether it was 2003, 2005, 2008, 2015. Nobody picked us to go 15-1. You know what I mean? Like nobody ever picks us when we actually do it. But in hindsight, as a fan looking back on it, the signs are kind of there at the beginning of those seasons where there's like camaraderie. The team seems closer, like more tight knit. They're doing stuff off the field. And I'm seeing that. I saw that Adam Thielen had invited the wide receivers and Bryce Young to Minnesota to his house. They went up there and actually threw around, spent some time on the lake, that kind of thing. You didn't really see that with the Matt Rule era or the Frank Wright era, or, you know, it really since Rivera and you guys, where the team seems like they're kind of becoming friends, you know, and that goes a long way, especially when it comes to a team sport where it's 53 people on the roster. You can't just kind of clock in and report to work and not have a rapport with your teammates in order to have a great season. And it feels like they're building that. And that's the thing I'm really the most excited about, is that the team seems to be growing together. And what you just said with Dabo showing up, former Panthers showing up and being invited to come in, being included again, that goes a long way, not just for the team, but for the fan base too, in terms of what we expect as Panther fans. So I'm excited to see all that. And I bring up those other years where we were successful, because one of the other things we want to talk about, the Charlotte Observer has been working on this for like 10 months. They finally dropped their documentary, Supermen, the 2015 Carolina Panthers. You can find it on YouTube on the Charlotte Observer's website. Shout out to Scott Fowler and all the guys over and girls at the Charlotte Observer that worked on this documentary. I got a chance to watch it the other night. Stu was actually in the documentary as one of the prime players on that team. And we were talking about this off camera as well. I watched it and thought at the end of it, we never really, as fans, or maybe even that team, and you can speak on this, we never really got closure after the way that game ended going into the next season. We literally, Thursday Night Football, Denver, 2016, there was never a chance to really ask, like, Cam Newton, why'd you walk out of the press conference? Or to ask guys, did Kotri catch that football? You know, that kind of, there was never a chance to do it that made sense. I didn't realize that was Jericho Cotri's last football game. I didn't realize that was the last football game he played in the NFL. Like, this little stuff like that. And to get your opinion on it, because you participated in this documentary, and your thoughts looking back on it, this is the 10-year anniversary of the greatest Panther team in history. Your thoughts on seeing the documentary from the Charlotte Observer, and did it provide closure for you as a player on that team for that season?
I think it helps. I don't think anything can just not just one thing can help you with the closure of, you know, solidifying closure rather when you lose a Super Bowl. But I think it helps, you know, talking about the game, talking about that season, talking about the good about the season, right? The good times, because there was a lot of that. But also being able to rack your brain and remember the bad times. Wasn't too many bad times, and that's why we were Super Bowl contenders. But you know, I think when I watched that series, they did a good job, Charlotte Observer. I think what it does is it's a reminder that the vibes, the thunder, the keep pounding, the mindset of 2015 still echoes in Charlotte. You know what I'm saying? That's really kind of what I left watching that segment. You know, the effect that we had on this city, the impact that we had on this city just that year alone, was amazing. But it also took time to get to that place. So as I watched that segment, it really just gave me hope for Panthers' future, right? Yeah. Seeing the countless seasons up to this point where they've been struggling and they've had struggle, you know, you can almost kind of start pointing to certain series of events as far as the roster moves, as far as the coaching changes, and seeing where we are now, like the footprint is there, you know, and I think we're starting to gain some ground as far as what this culture is, what people expect from this culture, from this football team. And, you know, it's not rocket science. It's not necessarily recreating the wheel. It's just doing what's necessary. And I think watching that, the Supermen, and hearing, you know, a lot of my former teammates talk, you know, each guy that was talking in that series, they were a pivotal piece to the culture. They were a pivotal piece to the mindset of what a Carolina Panther was. And It wasn't just I show up today, I show up whenever I want. It was showing up every day. So I mean, there's a lot of feelings that I had, watching it, but most of all, I left proud. Um, I left watching that series pretty
Yeah.
proud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, you touched on it right there at the very beginning. It made me remember that when there's something to cheer for, Charlotte is a beautiful city to be in as a sports city. Like when something is hot in Charlotte, the city comes out. Like in that year, the Panthers had a chokehold on the city of Charlotte. Like, I mean, it was the state really. Like, I mean, it took a while for some people to get on. Like, I still remember people telling me, "Oh, they're the worst 10-0 team in history. Oh, they're the worst 13-0 team in history." I'm like, really? Like, really? Like, how many do we got to win of these?
Well, but we were still winning though.
We're still winning. We're still dabbing and everything.
Yeah, doing all kind of stuff, changing the culture. I mean, watching all the dab stuff and the dancing, like, and seeing where football is today now, man, like, you have to go back and say the Carolina Panthers, like, they were trailblazers in that department.
You were,
because it wasn't just. It just wasn't one guy. It was a group effort.
Yeah.
The sideline pictures, all kind of stuff, man. Like, you can't talk about football and the game changing, especially with social media and all this content stuff now that the NFL loves, without talking about Cam Newton and why they hated Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Like, now it's silly to even say what you were hating on. You know what I'm saying? Like,
because there's 4 dudes that are kind of like Cam Newton in terms of trying to emulate him right now, that the league is pushing forward. And that team, you're right. You guys changed the rules because the people don't remember now, but remember the NFL was trying to outlaw touchdown celebrations. Like, remember when you get a penalty for doing a celebrate, you still kind of can if you take your helmet off or whatever, but they were really cracking down on it until the 2015 Carolina Panthers, where you guys started getting more creative with it. Like, Cam would take the ball into the stands, or y'all get over to the sideline and do something, or whatever, and the cameras would catch it. And it got to a point where people would see it from afar outside of Carolina and be like, yo, how many times do you see an NFL football team look like they're having fun in week 5, week 7, week 9? Like, it looked like you guys enjoyed being around each other and enjoyed winning. Like, it felt like a culmination of a couple of years of kind of figuring out who you guys were. And
that's what I was
going on now.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Like, it took a couple of years. It didn't just happen overnight. From 2008 until that point, I knew Thomas Davis, Ryan Khalil. Like, these are guys that I played with for that amount of time. And we had multiple guys in that situation, in that room, in that locker room, that we knew in and out. And as new guys came to the team, they were like, wow, this is special. You guys know each other like y'all brothers, legit. So, I mean, it takes time. And I think the Carolina Panthers, you have guys like Chuba, you have Derek Brown. These guys have been together. They've been a nucleus for so long, but they've also experienced loss. They've experienced losing. So they have the hunger, they have the desire to change things, and they're going to make sure they hold people around them accountable. So I equate that to the same thing that we experienced throughout my time, 2008 up until 2015. You have your core group of guys that know what it's going to take to win football games, that knows what it's going to take of what not to be, right? Yeah. And I think that shift is happening. It happened last year, and I think now we're going to start seeing some reward from that.
You get a mix of thinking back on that 2015 roster. You had some youth on there, but you also had a mix of, like you said, vets that had been not just in the NFL, but with the Panthers for a number of years and understood the culture. Then that was a year when you started getting guys coming in that were vets that were like looking for a place to contend, like a Peanut Tillman.
They were looking for a home to go, get to the Super Bowl.
Jared Allen, like that's when you start getting those final pieces to come in and fit in the rotation. I think the Panthers are on the right track for that going forward this year. But it was a nice reminder to look at it and go, okay, this is why we were so proud of the Carolina Panthers. This is why we say keep pounding. This is why we are so defensive when people try to attack the house like that, because we understand what it's like when it's good. Like, we've been down. It's okay. We've been down. But when it's up, like some of those people that were clowning or whatever are going to act like they weren't clowning. They're going to be on the train just like they were in 2015. So we're used to it. But I think the Panthers kind of turning the table here. But before we get out of here, and we'll be kind of on a regular schedule, I believe, going forward. We'll have some extra stuff through August too, as we get the Panthers are going to be playing, I think, in a week and a half or something like that. I think next Thursday they're playing. I think I saw they're playing at 4:00 in the afternoon. Browns. So I need to check that because I believe it's a chart of all the games or whatever. I was like, I don't know if that's right at 4 PM on a August the 7th, or I don't know if that's something that they should be doing. But one of the things we wanted to start doing, one of the new segments, is J Stew's best and worst. And it could be anything from the past week, from sports that you saw that you enjoyed, didn't enjoy, wanted to clown, just wanted to question, just wanted to bring it to the audience. Something from Stew just to close out the show. J Stew's best and worst of the week. I kind of sprung this on you yesterday late, so I didn't know if you had enough time to put it together. But I mean, you're a smart brother, so I figured you'd figure something out. So what's the best and worst for J Stew for this week?
Look, there's a couple things that I think has happened that we can talk about. One of the things is the kissing act, the kissing incident.
Oh, the
right?
Coldplay thing.
No, I wasn't even talking about the Coldplay thing. I'm talking about the Raiders' Christian Wilkins.
That thing.
Yeah. Part of me says stay clear of this because it's already been talked about. But I'm gonna premise this like this. Obviously, this was.
Wait, clue me in here because I feel like I'm missing part of this story. Because you said the kissing thing.
So I know Christian Wilkins kissed a teammate on the forehead, and
that's why
news was that he kissed him on the forehead, and they kicked him off the team. Obviously, that's not the overall reason, right? There has to be other optics that come from that whole ordeal, right?
Yeah. And he's been in trouble before. On stuff on the field, grabbing at stuff that he ain't supposed to be grabbing at. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go into stuff, but he's been he did it at Clemson too. So it's this ain't a one-time thing.
This is my thought, right? If that gesture, we're gonna call the kissing thing the gesture, right? On the forehead, if it triggered a formal complaint, right? It likely means the team environment or culture was strained long before it happened, right?
Raiders.
So I would just go out and say, as far as a reminder to the guys out there that are pros, college teammates, high school, youth football, be a good teammate. Be a teammate that people will go to bat for you. Be a teammate that will say, hey, hold up, that obviously was playful, no ill intent, whatever it is. People will go to bat for you. I don't care what you do. People will do that. In this case, in this situation, it doesn't seem like a lot of guys are raising their hands saying, hey, that was a mistake or that was misunderstood. I don't understand what's happening. Everybody just basically said, no hands.
Yeah. Hey,
the hands are over here working. So it's just interesting that made news, and it was the reasoning as far as the team releasing that from their PR. Hey, there was an incident. He kissed a guy on the forehead, and now he's not on the team.
I didn't even see the kissing part. I just
saw that was weird.
That's weird.
That's even more weird of how the Raiders released the news. You know what I'm saying? Okay, well, you could have just made it a little bit more as far as maybe this guy was a problem previously, and you guys been dealing with it, and finally enough was enough, and this guy was cancerous to the locker room.
They're like, nah, he kissed the dude. And
it's yo, the optics make it seem like a minor act. You know what I'm saying? A minor act to be used, or minor act justified for a bigger fallout than what it really appears to be.
Didn't they just draft him a year or two ago? He's super young. He's not a vet.
But anyways, look, don't be out there kissing nobody. Don't be kissing nobody. All right, you a football player. Just stay. Look, you playing football. Unless you got relations, then you can kiss people. But if you ain't got relations,
don't be walking up.
Dap me up. You know what I'm saying? Boom, bop.
Imagine some strange man came up and kissed you on the forehead, like just randomly, like at the grocery store or something. Like, what? Yeah. What are you doing? Like that?
Is this a baptism?
And I don't think anybody's picked him up either, because that was a couple of days ago. So it's gonna be interesting. Because again, he's young. So,
but hopefully it's a learning lesson as far as like whatever has been going on. Because I honestly don't think it was because of that. Right? I don't think it was just a kiss on the forehead that got him fired. Yeah. This was things that led up to his firing, that was weighing heavy on the locker room, and the GM had to make a decision to make sure the team is heading in the right direction as far as development.
It had to be something big, because he was a blue chip defensive lineman from Clemson. Like again, they just drafted him either this year or last year, I can't remember. And in that division, in the AFC West, where you're dealing with Pat Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Bo Nix. Like, I mean, you need some defensive linemen. So for them to get rid of him says a lot. So is that what you got for the week, or you got anything else? Or
yeah, that's about it. I mean, obviously the NFL is expanding its footprint. There's some words out there about Arthur Blank floating the idea of every NFL franchise playing internationally. Last year the Panthers got to go to Germany to play New York, and beat them in Germany, which was nice to, go that distance, as a fan, and your team shows up. And, I think it's a good thing for the NFL. Global expansion builds new markets, right? So I think that's awesome, but it's definitely going to be a strain on the players, the logistics, the rest time, prep time, the home field identity. I think, that can throw a wrench into how a team can create their own momentum and sustain it throughout a season. So yeah, I mean, I think it's obviously it's just a spectacle right now, but it's definitely going to be strategic, because I'm pretty sure NFL sees a lot of opportunity when it comes to growth within the game.
If there's money there, they're going to go after it. So like, you ain't got to question that. So that's Jay Stew's best and worst of the week. We'll be back next week. We'll actually have a game to preview. Panthers, if I'm not mistaken, they're playing the Cleveland Browns. Let me double check that, because they're playing next week. And again, I said earlier, it's at 7, not at 4. So Believe sent me the wrong time. I was like, I know that ain't right. So
that must be West Coast time.
Maybe, yeah, they're in California, so that's probably what it is. So Panthers Browns Friday, August 8th at 7 o'clock. We'll actually be on hopefully before that to preview that game, so we can actually kind of preview. And we'll talk a little bit about Cleveland. What's Cleveland doing in terms of everything? I think they don't have quarterback really, and so we'll
all I know is there better not be a bunch of Cleveland Brown jerseys at that stadium.
Don't even start, folks. Don't start early with that, because y'all know how we feel about that. Don't let. I mean, it would be hard for me to imagine Cleveland Brown fans taking over anything, but that would be
Shador fans. That's what I'm saying. Shador fans.
I'm wondering. You know what? We'll talk about that too, because I'm hearing Shador's not really getting a lot of first team reps, so we might see Shador in the second, third, fourth quarter, like with guys that aren't going to make the team. So like, there's a lot of stuff where we can watch most of this preseason game where normally we don't. Again, the wide receivers we talked about earlier in the show, having Andy Dalton on the team is actually a benefit, because you can evaluate those players with a good quarterback in the second and third quarter of preseason. So for the first time in years, I'm actually interested in watching preseason football, which is nuts, but it just tells me we need football. We need football back. It's time. Put it in my vein. So we're going to go ahead and get out of here. We'll be back next week with a new episode. We'll preview all that, and we'll talk a little bit about the Browns. We'll talk about the position battles with the Panthers. Any news pops up, signings and whatnot, we got you covered here. Again, exclusively on Believe. I know some of you guys were watching this on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio channel for a while, and some other locations when we were doing it live on Twitter and other spots. Is now exclusively on the Believe YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/@Believe for the video. And the audio, of course, is always on the Believe podcast platform formats. iTunes and Spotify is probably the quickest place to find it, but you can get the audio on any major podcast platform. So for Jonathan Stewart, this is Desmond Johnson. You've been watching and listening to the Believe in Panthers podcast here on Believe Podcast Networks. Keep at it.